little bit extra haste, you know, but
And Glyptic, he's got that workout, so obviously he's ready for the stuns. So I definitely agree with that. Toes, I'm not sure he's really been in a position to need an out like the Goblin Jump, honestly. I'm not positive why he picked that. Maybe it was just an escape mechanic to get off top of Blade's Edge. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, it looks like they're going to take top. Definitely the smart move here by Skullcap. Going down bottom would basically just be playing into the strings of Yaz Presents. They're just going to stand up here and tunnel some damage into.
Oh, look at another. Taking a ton of damage straight from the start, and what already using his animatic shells from the beginning. And look, now you can get those unstable afflictions up when your team is worrying about trying to keep people alive versus just, you know, interrupting everything. Pooks, though, lots of damage. Man, both of these teams can put out so much damage. That Strangulate onto Toes with a coil onto Pooks. And now Fabs is going to jump down. And there you go. Now you can see the switch from Teams Yaz Presents. They almost went down to the bottom. A death coil onto another needing to drop down also because he was by himself up top.
It's Snuts fighting there on the ramp. Toes and Pooks both playing right down near that ramp. This is exactly where they want to be. Just kind of bait them towards ramp if possible. I'm not sure why Pooks is going all the way up there towards mid pillar.
Oh, he's right there. Wow, he's blocking because he's standing there in the center taking a lot of damage from another. But look at the life bars of all of Yaz Presents.
Yeah, and like I said, Skullcap's been doing a good job. Snuts has put out a lot of damage, and Pooks showing us that mobility on the mage damage. And what a great impact on Fabio. Pooks not missing a thing with that focus impact stun. And another just taking tons of damage. AMS down, not for another 30 seconds into the AMZ on the edge of ramp, but he pops right back out of it into a COC root. And now they're just going to try to get that damage back out on Skullcap. They cannot let Skullcap get range on them. They will lose this match.
All right, so we do see that Pooks just snapped right there because he's already used his block. He knows that once that hypothermia drops, which it did, he will definitely be able to reblock when needed. And this is the late game. This is what happens because the Shaman eventually will run out of mana. However, look at Toes.
Yeah.
Toes' mana he's doing great. And you compare it against Yaz Presents, it's almost the exact opposite of what happened later in the game on last round.
Yep, Skullcap knows how to play Blade's Edge for sure. I've seen him play MLS on it quite a bit. And they'll just bait you to ramp, they'll kill your pets, they'll just make you try to extend into them, and then they'll just pummel you with damage and hop back out of the way when you try to do the same. It's extremely frustrating to play against. You can see how effective it is against that DK sitting in Nova inside of AMS, unfortunately. And it's just the little things like that that are going to allow him to take maximum damage while not doing much against, you know, this Wizards team.
Oh, and Pooks is having such a tough time trying to get away from another. He drops that ring right there, and another's trying to get outside of it, but he is caught in it right now. Able to get out without having to use a trinket because of the dot damage he had on him. Now look at that impact stun, and he's going to try to get the dots back up, and there we go. Now we have a line of dots onto another. That's what Pooks needs to do. He needs to keep those up constantly.
Yeah, and Pooks getting back up top. You see Snuts using his portal effectively. Another thing we haven't talked about, you know, portal here on Blade's Edge, so clutch for Warlocks, because you can pretty much just hop down, tank some damage, and then be safe again. Portal back up to your healer. Now, Glyptic managed to get a lot of mana back. I was going to mention that a second ago. Glyptic straight chilling, having a drink down in the bottom of circle there, and another has managed to stay alive to it. And that's probably a big turning point for this match, because that was the only problem they had. Wow, Fabio caught into an impact silence, got rolling dots on him solo. Glyptic caught into a fear. There's the Nature Swiftness, but he can't cast it. Oh, barely gets it off. Not sure why he sat there for 2 seconds with the Nature Swiftness bomb on.
Down to half right now. That was a monstrous blow out of the Death Knight pet, which is going to stun him just like the normal Gnaw. But Pooks down to half right now. Again, Earth Shield was swapped onto Toes at that point with a Hex onto Snuts. Snuts is going to trinket that to get out of it, but immediately gets howled.
Yeah, wow, a big fear onto Snuts and Pooks. Pooks having to trinket that. And Toes was just caught into a silence there for most of that and taking a lot of damage. And now he's become a big target. He drops down bottom, going for the heal on himself and a good blanket on Fob, so he cannot go for that interrupt. And going for a Hex, Toes unable to get it off, mainly just trying to keep himself up. Nice little rocket jump. I see now maybe why he picked Goblin, just for positioning purposes, so he can get back up top and stay safe. Glyptic in a full fear, or a full poly rather.
Now Toes trying his best to try to get out of line of sight from both another and keeping himself in line of sight of all the other players. That's why sometimes it's so tough to play a healer.
Yeah, Glyptic having a pretty tough time sitting down bottom here, actually. Not getting a lot of opportunities to cast. Getting controlled quite a bit. Pooks getting back up top, trying to get to safety here. Not really sure if he's used the evocation yet, but if it's Glyphed, it might not be a bad time to just help Toes out with that mana a little bit. You see he's got fingers up, so they could go on somebody, but there's really just no glaring targets. Fabio sitting at the top of ramp in a deep freeze, taking some damage. The Glyptic is right there behind him, so it's probably not going to convert into a kill.
Oh, and look at Pook, so much damage onto him again. Wow,
Yeah,
and he's trying to get any portion away whatsoever on the top of that bridge as he has to evocate there. It has it glyphed, which means he's going to help out his healer with a little extra healing.
Toes just tossed one little healer's way, brought it back up to 100%.
But Toes might be in trouble right here with that death coil, having to trinket it. That means his trinket's down, gets stunned by that pet, as the entire team is going to get over to Toes. This isn't good for Toes whatsoever. Down to 60,000 hit points. We see the Demon Soul come out of Snuts. He knows that they have to make something happen as another also gets slowed. That Blanket Silence on top of him. A fear and a spell lock onto another. Another getting solo. Glyptic is still feared with no way out whatsoever. 20,000 hit points. How did he live through that? Nature's Witness goes off. Another gets picked up.
And he's got
great play by Yaz right there.
Yeah, he saw the poly coming and he was able to avoid it. I'm really surprised Pooks was unable to land CC out of that owl because it was amazing. Another definitely would have fallen.
Now, another choosing not to go towards that ring because it is going to be a second, but the ring fades and he chose to dump some damage into the water elemental. I like that. You always need to be using every global.
MLS just playing up top, trying to stick with it. Toes getting some mana back there, about 65k. And now Glyptic hurting on mana again. And I do not think he's going to get another opportunity to go down bottom. He doesn't need to. He's chilling on the ramp drinking. Another's taking damage. Goes through AMS right quick just to give his healer some more time.
Now you can see, look at, this is when the reset is going to happen right here. They kind of played a lot more passively. As you can see, another is just jumping back and kiting because he knows Glyptic is probably in a bad position if Skill-Capped were to use some timers on him.
Yeah, well, you know, another has just gone into each and every fight and taken tons and tons of damage straight to the face. So maybe not the best time to charge in whenever your healer is sub 10k.
Yeah, it's interesting play by another, playing very defensively right now, but because his healer is also very low on mana, but Toes eating that spell lock.
Yeah, UA Silence, unfortunately. Spirit Link Totem thrown down by Glyptic, I believe, who's gotten to a poly. But look at, this match looks completely different. At this point in the match, we're actually almost at the 7-minute mark. Wow, that's kind of surprising. Glyptic just now bringing his teammates back up. I was about to comment on the health bar. Pooks back down to about 50, and you see Snuts and Toes controlled.
There was a very preemptive Strangulate right there, which ended up being, I almost said, oh, it might be too early, but it was a great job because they were able to dump a lot of damage into Pooks while during the absolute duration of that Strangulate.
Yep, and Pooks actually is running with Blazing Speed, it looks like. And he's using everything. I saw a Mana Shield brought up.
All right, whoa, look at that. A double howl right there, a Hex on top of it. They're going for a kill right now.
There's
no way
of
followed by a full poly. Trinkets it to get out of it. They just need a little bit more CC onto Glyptic right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was obvious. I looked over at Glyptic's nameplate and I saw Trinket up. Okay, this isn't going to be a kill. You know, it's just things they allowed themselves to be put in this position basically because now they can focus Toes. They knew that setup was coming again. They had the cooldowns to deal with it this time. And now they can put the hurt on Toes. But Glyptic caught into a Blanket Silence goes down in mid.
Oh, but Toes is... might not be okay. Yeah, they're yelling. The European team is yelling, he can die, he can die.
Yeah, but Toes is going to get down bottom there. I just don't think, you know, unless Fabio had a death coil ready to just knock him right up behind that pillar, it's just not going to happen for them. Rolling some dots along.
All right, but look, Pooks, so much damage as the team leaves.